Well, hi there. How's it going for you? I hope everything is going well for you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm so excited for today's video because we are making a brand new pattern from a brand new designer who is also in our YouTube community. She's outside of France and her name is Maureen Thierry. I hope I didn't butcher that name, and if I did, I'm so sorry. But this is her brand new creation. It is called the Korat bag, and it is very spacious. You open this up, and there are two slip pockets in here. It is very big. You can fit a lot of stuff in here. My favorite part of this bag is all of the decorative stitches on all of your strips. I love the triangle connectors here. I think it's just a very unique bag, something that you don't really see every day. The round bottom. I made this all out of vinyl, so this will be a bag that is turned through the lining. So just be mindful of the material that you'll be using, and also be mindful of the material you'll be using for your machine. You know what your machine can handle and what it can't. So like I said, this is all vinyl. It's from Lauren Mormino, and turning this bag through the lining was a little challenging. My hands definitely had quite the workout. They were sore the next day, but all in all, it turned out so pretty. I love the colors of this vinyl. She does such a good job. Lauren Mormino does such a good job picking out all the materials that she sells. And if you have not shopped in her store, I highly recommend that you do. Anyways, back to the Korat bag. Um, Again, I think that her business is Izzy and Leia. I hope I'm saying that right again. I hope I'm not butchering it again. And if I am, I'm so sorry. But I will have her YouTube channel linked below. I will have her Facebook group linked below. And also her website, so you can purchase the pattern linked down below. She does have the pattern in 3 different languages: English, French, and also German. Make sure that when you do purchase the pattern in English, that when you go to the website, there's going to be a little, it'll say French slash EN for English. Make sure you change it to English so that you can read it. Unless you speak French, then you don't have to do that. But just keep that in mind if you go and purchase the pattern. And I believe there is a 20% off discount for this bag only until Tuesday, I believe. I will double check and put it in the link down below just to let you know. All right, so I'm excited to get into this, and we will go ahead and get started. So you're going to need 10 decorative strips. On my other bag, I used vinyl. You can use vinyl. You can use cork or cotton weight if you want to. You can use really anything that you want to use, anything you know your machine can handle. That's totally up to you. I decided to do webbing this time. I did enjoy the top stitching of the decorative strips before, but I thought it'd be fun to try something different and use webbing. So you will need 10 of these, and I have 2 clipped off the side because these 2 will have different measurements on the strip, so I wanted to keep it separate because I have the tape on the back set differently because of the measurements, and you'll see what I'm talking about shortly. You're going to need 2 swivel hooks, an adjustable slider, and then you're going to need, I think it's 3 D-rings if I'm not mistaken. No, you'll need 4, excuse me, 4 D-rings. You could also use a rectangle ring if you'd like. There's also an adjuster, I forget what it's called. I think it's called a bridge connector. You can use 2 bridge connectors instead of D-rings if you prefer. That's totally up to you. You can also use gate rings if you'd like. So I've got the main exterior. You'll have 2 cuts for your main exterior, and what I did here is I went ahead and marked out all of my lines for placement of all of my decorative strips here to place down. The biggest thing about this bag is it's going to take you a long time to prepare everything. It's not going to take you that long to actually make the bag. It's a very fun bag. I really enjoyed making this. You're going to have one piece for your loop, and then you're going to have two connectors. And if you're going to have a bag tag, she does recommend putting it on your main panels, but I do like the way it looks on the connector, so I've got it here with my connector, and then my bag tag is from the Heartwood and Hide. I love them so much. They're beautiful. I highly recommend them. I've got my lining for the bottom, and then I have my exterior for the bottom. I do recommend that you interface this with Decoville Light or Decoville Heavy. You can try fleece if you want, or even foam. That would be good. I have already marked out, all of my my centers for these. I've got my drawstring. Your slip pocket will have two pieces, and two pieces for your main lining, and then you'll have webbing if you're going to use webbing for a strap, or if you're going to use vinyl or cork or cotton weight, you'll need that for your strap. And then you'll need rivets if you'd like to use some rivets. You're also going to need a bunch of clips, and you're going to need some snips, and then also you're going to need some marking tools. Since I'm using Lux Nylon, and also I'm using Lux Nylon on all of it, I'll be using an air erasing marker. Also the same thing for the webbing. I probably will be using the air erasing marker on the webbing as well. And then you're definitely going to need a ruler to mark out all of your markings for just about most of your panels here, especially doing your decorative stitches, or your decorative straps, excuse me. I keep calling them stitches, but your decorative strips. And then I'm sure there will be something along the way. You'll definitely need some scissors, and I think that's it. I'm using black and red thread from Wizardry Stitchery. I think it is called Black Widow. Yes, from Black Widow is what it's called. It's really pretty. Alright guys, I think that's it. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so go ahead and grab your two main exterior panels and also all of your decorative strips. Again, you'll have 10 of those. I've already made all of my markings, so make sure you refer to the pattern to get all of your measurements for your strips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with one of these. I do want to keep them separate just because I have the tape on the back. They're a little bit different than the two here, and that's because they're going to be on this first strip over here, and that's going to be where your connectors are going to go, so the measurements are a little different. Okay, so I'm going to grab my ruler, and I'm going to grab my air erasing marker. This disappears very quickly, so I'll have to move pretty fast. If you are doing vinyl or leather, then you'll definitely want to, you'll go according to the pattern, and you're going to draw a line down the center of the back side, and then you'll put some double-sided tape on that center, and then you are going to fold the edges to meet that line, and then you're going to top stitch according to the measurements in the pattern. So let's just go ahead and start with the webbing here. I've got my first strip, and I'm going to measure in, it's 4.5 inches. And then we're going to make another mark away from this line. It'll be 1 inch. Okay. And then we're going to make another one, which will be 1/4 away from that line, and then another line away away from this line will be 3/4. Okay. This will now be the top. So on this first strip, you're going to have 4 lines. And what we're going to do is I'm going to remove the tape from the top on the back. You definitely want to make sure that you have tape. It's going to make this a lot easier and make sure that you have this on straight. So you want to take the top edge and line it up with the top edge on number 2. I went ahead and numbered them the way that she's got them in the pattern just to make sure I'm doing this correctly. And I'm going to line up the top edge, and also I'm going to line up my webbing with the lines that I've made. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch down this side, and I'm going to come to that first line that I drew, and I'm going to keep my needle down and lift my presser foot up and pivot. And then I'm going to do the same thing and pivot and go all the way back up. Okay, now what we're going to do is grab your D-ring and you're going to slide this right through and bring your D-ring or rectangle ring all the way to where your stitch line is, and you want to just have it snug there. Now I'm going to remove the paper. I'm going to kind of lift this up a little bit. I'm going to have the bottom edge meet the bottom edge and line up your decorative strip right along the lines you drew, trying to keep it as straight as you can. My lines are already starting to disappear, so now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch 1/8 of an inch up and come to that first line and keep your needle down, press your foot up and pivot and come all the way here and do the same thing. You'll pivot and come all the way down. So now you'll take your D-ring and you'll slide it all the way down to where you just sewn this rectangle here, this line. So now what we're going to do is carefully, we're going to do a box from the other 2 lines that we drew. You want to have a loop here. So if it looks like this is exactly what we want. We want there to be a loop here so that our drawstring can go through there. So go ahead and start at whichever side you prefer, but you'll go down 1 line and pivot and come over to the next line and go up and then pivot and close up the rectangle. Well, there we go. So the first decorative strip is now complete. Next, you're going to go ahead and grab another one of your strips here, and the next 4 strips are going to have the same measurement on your strip. So you want to make sure to have double-sided tape on here. If you have glue maybe you'd rather use, do whatever you are comfortable with doing, but they're going to have the same measurements, the next 4. So I'll show you how to do one of them. I just need to find, I don't know, there we go, my marking tool, I lost it. Okay, so the measurements here are going to be 4.5 inches. You'll draw that line, and then you're going to do 1 inch from the line you just drew. Okay. We will sew just like we did on the other one. You're going to place this at the top, right on those lines you drew, and you're going to start on either side, whichever side you want, and you're going to do 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and you're going to come down and stop at that first line, and you're going to pivot, and then you're going to go back up the other side. So we'll remove the paper. We will line up the top edges together. Okay. All right, let's sew this down. Now we're going to remove the paper on the bottom. I'm going to lift this up like that, just so that the sticky tape doesn't touch. I'm going to line up the bottom edge, and then your lines, make sure it's all as straight as you can get it. If they're a little off, it's going to be okay. No one's going to notice. And again, we want to create this loop here for our drawstring. So we're going to start at the bottom. You'll go up 1/8 of an inch and stop at the line and pivot, and then you'll come back down 1/8 of an inch on that side. Okay, so we've got the second decorative strip down. We've got the loop here, and now you're going to repeat what you just did on this strip for the next 3. Okay, like I said on this panels, I've already got all of my markings out. I ended up making mistakes, but I know which lines are the correct lines, so don't worry about the messiness on here. I know what I'm looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this down. This is that first strip that'll go here. The measurements again on here are a little bit different than the rest. So I'm going to go ahead and make my marks here. It's going to be 4.5, and then that will now be the top of your strip. And then I'm going to make another mark, which is 1 inch away from the line we just drew. And then the next line will be 1/4 inch from the line we just drew. And then the next line will be 3/4 of an inch from the line we just drew. So there's 4 lines. And I'm going to remove the tape from the top. Not the tape, I'm going to remove the paper from the top. I always say that. I'm going to place the top edge at the top edge on row number 2. And I'm going to put it as straight as I can get it. And just like the other one, we're going to start at the top. We're going to come down 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and stop at that first line. And we're going to pivot and come across, and we're going to pivot again and come right back up at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to go ahead and grab a D-ring. I'm going to slide my webbing through my D-ring, and we're going to go up. I've got the tape down a little bit too far, so I'm going to take this back a little bit. So this Korat bag is actually named after a cat breed. They are a cat known in Thailand. They're actually very cute. The designer posted a picture of her cat, and very adorable. They have really cute ears. But they're from Thailand, and they have blue and they have a silver tipped coat. And then I think it says that they have green eyes with a heart-shaped head. I think that's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen one in person, but on the pictures, they're pretty adorable. Alright, so I'm going to place the D-ring, and I want it to go up against the stitches that we made there, and I'm going to pull the paper off the tape at the bottom, and I'm going to lift this up and line my edge together and place my webbing right along these edges. And then we're going to sew right from the bottom up to the line that we do, the very first line that you come to, and you're going to pivot and come across and then come back down. Okay, so go ahead and pull that D-ring down to the stitches you just made and have them come as far as they're going to go, and we're going to go ahead and sew a rectangle within the two lines that we created. So you'll go down one line and go over and pivot, back up the other line and back over to close up that rectangle. Well, there we go. So there's the first strip with the D-ring. So now we're going to go ahead and grab our other strips, and I will do the second one, and then we're going to repeat what we did with this one with the next three. So you got to make sure, yeah, I've got the top here. So it's going to be 4.5 inches, and then that will now be the top. And then you're going to do a 1 inch from the line you just made. Okay, I'm going to remove the paper. Place this on this next column here. I'm going to line up my top edges and then the lines that I previously made. And I'm going to start at the top and come down and get to the first line that you drew and pivot and come across and then go back up. Alright, there's the top portion, so now we'll go ahead and remove the paper from the bottom. And I'm going to line up this bottom edge and lift this up. Line the bottom and line up the edges of your strip here and create that loop, and we're going to sew up the side and come to that first line you drew. You're going to come across, pivot, and come back down to the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, there we go with the second, and we are going to repeat this step for the next 3 of our strips. Alright, your 2 exterior main panels, they are done. We'll go ahead and set these to the side. It's time to grab your slip pocket. You'll have two of these. What we're going to do is put these right sides together and go ahead and clip around the edges. We are going to leave an opening about 6 inches. You could do 4 inches if you want. Whatever you want to do. So grab some clips. My kids are home if you hear them. Okay. I am going to So this had a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we'll leave this opening here, and then we'll turn this out. Sometimes I do like to sew at the bottom and kind of come up and then sew out. That will help with your pocket whenever you close it up. You don't have to do this. Okay, so now I'm going to do is trim my corners. Make sure not to cut your stitches, and I'll probably also trim just a little bit of the seam allowance over here. I think I went just a little bit over the seam allowance. So I'm going to grab my inking shears. Okay, now we're going to turn this right sides out. This material is it's called Luxe Bonded Nylon, I believe. It's from Wonderground Fabrics. It doesn't require any interfacing. This is so nice. One of my favorite bases is to use Luxe Nylon. It reminds me a lot of Fabric Therapy's Fairtex, which I love that too. You don't have to interface it. Who enjoys interfacing? I'd like to know. I don't know anyone who enjoys interfacing things. It just takes so much time to do it. I'm going to grab my tool here to help me with my corners. I always forget what this thing is called. Some people use chopsticks, which is a really good idea. And there's Oliver. Alright, and this just, since I sewed those bottoms, this folds over so nicely. Look at that. You don't even have to do anything. Alright, let me fix this corner down here. This is kind of funky. Oh yes, this Luxe Bonded Nylon is so nice. The way it feels, it kind of feels very luxurious. I don't know, but okay. So we're going to top stitch the top at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. She also recommends doing a second row of top stitching at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. You can do that if you like, totally up to you. I will go ahead and do that. I do like the way that it looks. Okay, that looks really good. I love the black and red thread. It's really fun. If you haven't tried variegated thread from Wizardry Stitchery, I highly recommend. We will close this bottom edge up once we place this on the lining. I'm going to go ahead and mark my centers really quick. I'm using a marking tool, something like chalk. Make sure not to use anything that won't come off. That wouldn't be good. And I'm just marking it down at the bottom, and then I have it at the top. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my lining. You just need one lining right now. Make sure it is right side up. You'll need to also mark your centers on this. I'm just going to mark the center of the top right now. Well, I guess I'll do both just to make sure. I can't find my scissors. Here we go. All right. This red material is Luxe Nylon from Wonderground Fabrics. You don't have to interface it. I love it. If you guys haven't tried it, you should definitely give it a try. I promise you won't be disappointed. I'm going to grab a ruler. We're going to, I believe it's 2 inches down, but let me just double check here. Okay, so yes, it will be 2 inches from the top. Make sure it's centered. And usually I'd like to use tape to place this down. I will grab some Kimberbell tape and go ahead and just use a couple pieces. This is kind of sliding around because of the material. It's kind of slick. Definitely want to hold it in place so we don't I don't want it to be wonky, even though it honestly probably will be because I never have the perfect slip pocket. If anyone is going to SME down in Orlando in a couple weeks, let me know in the comments below. Are you taking any classes? What class are you taking? If you see me out there, I will be going. So if you see me out there, come say hello. I would love that. I'm excited. I'm going to meet people that I've been really wanting to meet for a long time, and I think it'll be really fun. So we're going to go ahead and top stitch this pocket down, add an 1/8 inch seam allowance from the right side down the bottom and then up to the left. This would be a great place to put one of those sew-in labels if you want. All right. Oh, you can also place a line down the center and divide your pocket, which I'm gonna do that. I wasn't going to do that. I did it on the other one, but we will go ahead and do that. So I will go ahead and line up my centers from the top and the bottom and make a line. And I will sew up this line and back down the line to create the 2 pockets. And I completely forgot to go up my center line to create my pockets. So no problem, I will just go ahead and start from the center. I'll start at the bottom and go up and then go back down. All right, and there is our slip pocket. Okay, so I'm grabbing my other lining panel, and then I'm grabbing my main exterior panels. She does recommend in the pattern that if you do want to add a bag tag, you'll place it on one of your exterior panels over here between 2 and 3, or between 3 and 4. I kind of like it on the connectors. I think it looks really good there. So I'm just going to grab this lining panel, the one without the slip pocket. I'm going to set this one aside. And now what we're going to do is we're going to place your lining right sides together on top of your exterior panel. So go ahead and clip those together. All right, we're going to sew this top edge at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so go ahead and pull your lining. You'll pull it back. And what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna press. If you're using cotton, you can iron if you'd like. We're gonna top stitch right here on the lining. So your seam allowance should be behind, your seam should be behind your lining. So we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance on the lining side. Okay, so it should look like this. So you'll want to go ahead and set this to the side and go ahead and grab your other lining panel and also the other exterior panel. All right, so you want to make sure that the top of your exterior and the top of your slip pocket, the slip pocket, they're all facing up and they're right side down. Okay, and again, we're going to sew this down at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, and lift this panel up. You can fold this up, and like I said, if you're using cotton and you want to go ahead and use your iron if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and top stitch that. Again, you want to make sure that your lining is up and that your seam is behind your lining panel. Okay, so this is what the other panel should look like with your slip pockets here. That looks so good. Okay, so I think next, I believe we are going to place our panels together. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our other exterior panel, and these are gonna go right sides together. So we're gonna take it and go just like this, right sides together, so our exteriors are together and then our lining is together. And what you wanna do first is match your seams up, and then clip down your sides on each side. We're not going to do the bottom for the bottom of your lining because that's where we're gonna place the bottom, and we'll do both of those separate. You'll want to leave an opening in your lining about 6 inches so that we can pull the bag through our lining. Okay, so go ahead and clip all of that together, starting with your seams, and we're going to sew these sides together only, and remember to leave your opening of about 6 inches on either side of your lining. Don't sew up the top and don't sew up at the top of your exterior. Leave those open. Okay, so your D-rings, rectangle rings, whatever hardware that you're using here, make sure they're out of the way. It might be easier to use a zipper foot for this if you like. I have a narrow foot, so it does pretty well going across smaller areas such as a zipper. So I know that my foot can go ahead and sew on the side with this D-ring. I have pushed the D-rings over as far as they will go inward. So I just want to let you know that, to keep that in mind. And also this can get a little awkward because this is kind of a little heavy. So just keep that in mind and just take your time, and let's go ahead and sew this together. All right, go ahead and grab both of your connector pieces. Now I'm using that the Luxe bonded, what's it called? The Luxe bonded nylon, so you don't need interfacing for it. It's actually pretty sturdy material here. You'll make some marks. So you want to look at the pattern and take a look at where you need to make the marks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some scissors. So you'll make your marks, and I'm going to gently cut right here at this crease here on both sides and on both connectors, because this is we're gonna sew these edges down so there's no raw edges here. And do the same thing over here on your other one. All right. So I've got double-sided tape on here. I'm going to peel the paper off and start. You want to fold over on that line, which is why I put the tape on the other side of the line that we drew. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this over. And I'm going to do that for all 4 edges on both connectors. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch these edges here. We're going to leave these open, so don't worry about closing this or anything. You're just going to top stitch the sides at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you'll do all 4 edges. Okay, so now what you're going to do is grab your D-ring or your rectangle ring, whatever it is you're using. For me, it's D-rings, and you're going to place, you want this to be right here. So I'm going to fold this in a little bit, and you want the straight edge to be on the wrong side. So the back side should be facing the wrong side, and right side should be up. And fold them together. So do the same thing with the other one. I'm going to fold these. Depending on your material, this could take a little bit of finagling. There we go. And we're going to take some clips, and we're going to place this together. All right, we want to grab a marking tool. I'm gonna grab a chalk pencil, and we're going to, you want to get as close as you can to your D-ring. You don't want it to move around, but I don't really want my stitches right against the D-ring. So I'm going to, it says in here to draw a line about 3/4 of an inch from the fold. I am going to grab like my ruler, and I'm just going to kind of feel around with it, the edge of it, and come down a little bit more, about right there, just because I find it difficult to pivot with this underneath my foot, my presser foot. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to kind of set this right here so that they can be an even line. Okay. So now you're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and you're going to come to the line you just drew and pivot, and then come back down at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, so this is what you should have. I had to go back and put my bag tag on, and we've got your connectors all ready to go. Okay, so go ahead and make your center marks on the bottom of your connector here. I'm going to cut little snips. Don't worry about those little dog ears. They'll end up being cut off whenever we attach these to the bottom of the bag. Okay. So now go ahead and grab your panels, or I guess it's one panel now, and you want to have the exterior side. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to place these on the strips where we placed our D-rings, okay, or the rectangle rings, whatever it is that you used, you'll place it on the center of that strip. You're going to place it right side out, and it's going to, the D-ring should be facing up towards the bottom, or towards the bottom of the bag. I guess that would be the bottom. So match up your midpoints right there on this decorative strip here, right down the center. And you're going to clip that down. We're going to base these down at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay. Now I'm going to flip this over and do the same thing on the other strip where that D-ring is. And my bag tag, I want it to be facing up. So I'm going to place this down, meet my centers on that decorative strip here. All right, go ahead and base that down at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so grab your bottom, both bottom lining and exterior, and you want to go ahead and mark your centers. I've already done that, so I'm going to go ahead and set the lining bottom aside, and we're going to go ahead and attach the bottom to the exterior here, and you want to have this going face, you want them right sides together. So I was doing that earlier. Go ahead and mark your centers here, which is gonna be in the center. On mine, it ends up being, where is this? Yeah, on the center over here. So if you want to use a marking tool to mark your centers, go ahead and do that. I'm going to use an air erasing marker. All right, so you'll take that bottom and you'll have your right sides together. So when you're looking at this, you should be looking at like your Decoville interfacing. So go ahead and match up all your centers and clip around. You probably want to use a lot of clips because you've got a big giant curve here. So you want to go ahead and match your curves first, and it might feel kind of awkward, so you just need to maneuver it the best that you can. You want to make sure that your triangle connectors are also down. You don't want them to be in the way. All right, so 3/8 inch seam allowance. I think that's it. Let's get to it. Okay. If you want to trim down anything, you can. I'm going to trim down those little dog ears. Lining bottoms, you're going to do the same exact thing. You'll find your midpoints on your bottom, and then you're going to find your midpoints on the lining panels. So you've got midpoints already. I don't have the midpoints on here, so go ahead and mark midpoints. My lining bottom. So these are going to be right sides together, and just place them first on your midpoints and then work your way around. Right. Trim down my seam allowance on my interior. All right, let's go ahead and turn our bag right side out. Carefully pull your exterior through your lining hole. Be real careful, you don't want to tear any stitches. This is where we are going to fold over the exterior into the lining. We want to have the exterior into the lining about 2¼ inches. And once you have that, you'll want to go ahead and clip the top together. And then we're going to go ahead and top stitch about 1/8 inch on the edge. And if your material is too thick for your machine where the decorative strips are, you can go ahead and sew in between the strips. That will be fine too. So again, you're going to sew that that's what I'm saying there. I was having some audio problems, but yes, you'll sew that together at 1/8 inch seam allowance. All right, go ahead and grab your loop piece. You're going to go ahead and draw a line right down the center and go ahead and use double-sided tape. So now you're going to fold your raw edges to meet that line. And then we are going to top stitch at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now we are going to fold over our raw edges to meet each other, right sides together. So sew your raw edges at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now you're going to turn this piece right side out very carefully not to break any of your stitches. So now you're going to flip this over and you're going to sew a little rectangle right over that seam right there. You're going to sew an 1/8 of an inch from each side and create a little rectangle, and this is going to create our drawstring loop. Go ahead and grab your drawstring. You're going to mark the center and then place your double-sided tape over the center and fold your raw edges to meet that line, and then you're going to fold it in half, clip it in place, and then you're going to sew an 1/8 of an inch from your folded edge to create your drawstring. So now you're going to grab your bag and you're going to attach the drawstring through all your loops, and then you will attach your loop for the drawstring. And if you'd like, you can add zipper. It's a zipper closure at the end of your drawstring, or you can go ahead and tie knots, which is what I did there. I did see some people doing the zipper ends, the zipper end closure, and they look really nice. So I do suggest trying that next time. I don't have any on hand right now, which is why I tied them together, but it does look really nice with the zipper ends. Go ahead and grab your strap, your slider, and then your swivel hooks, and go ahead and slide your swivel hook right through. Make sure that it is facing out. Attach it to the connector, and then you want to straighten it out, make sure it's straight, and then put the other end of your strap through the D-ring. There you go. Pull that through. So go ahead and grab the slider. Take the top portion of your strap and slide it through the top. Go over the bar, through the right side, and then pull that through. We're going to fold that over about 1 inch and go ahead and add some clips. We will end up putting rivets in there later on. You don't have to add rivets. You could always sew a box if you'd like to. So go ahead and pull that through and pull the other end of your strap through the right side of your slider, over the bar, and through the left side, and pull that through. And then you're going to go on the other side of the bag. You're going to want to put that other end of the strap through the other side of the D-ring first. I made a little boo-boo here. Yeah, eventually we're going to pull that through and fold it over 1 inch and add a rivet at some point. But here I was just yapping away, I guess, about something. And then here we go, I realized, no, this is not going to go through the D-ring, so we need to remove it. Yep, there you go. Go ahead and put, there you go, the strap through the D-ring, and then now we can attach the strap to the swivel hook. There you go. And fold it over about 1 inch. add your clips, and then we'll add our rivets in just a little bit. And there we go. So go ahead and hook that to your other D-ring connector, and you've got your strap added on. It looks really good. That turned out really well. I'm excited about it. Okay, so now it's time to close up our lining. So you'll go ahead and pull your lining out. You want to straighten it out so that you've got your lining nice and sewn together as straight as you can. So pop everything out the best you can, and then we're going to sew that pocket, not the pocket, but we'll sew that lining close at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, you guys, so this is where we have completed our Korat bag. I love the way it looks. I love it with the webbing. I do really enjoy making it with the vinyl decorative strips. It's really fun. This is such a fun pattern. So thank you so much to Izzy and Leia for allowing me to use your brand new pattern on my channel. It was so much fun. I hope that you guys buy this pattern and make this bag. You will have so much fun. If you could please share what you've made with us, we would love to see what you've made. And thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure you go to the description and check out all of Maureen's Facebook page, her Instagram, her YouTube, her website, all the good stuff. And yeah, look at that. It looks so good. I just need to clean it up and get the chalk marks off, and oh, it looks good. I need to add the rivets. I didn't do that yet, but I will add the rivets. So if you do want to add the rivets, make sure that you do that. But yes, it turned out really well, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to use this bag, and I appreciate you guys for watching. And if at any point you did like this video, please consider giving it a like. Also, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys so much, and I am so thankful you guys are here with me, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And also, don't forget, tag us on Instagram. You guys have a wonderful day. Until next time, bye.